India created thoughts bothered me, that who are these people who are creating thoughts? We create engineering here. Engineering is ideas. Ideas are either they may work, they may not work. A thought is not an idea. A thought is an analytic idea. A thought rests on previous thoughts because you have to think for a long time to create a thought. Ideas are also similar, but not exactly as a thought because ideas change. Thoughts don't change. Thoughts get ingrained in you. So with that, I thought that can I really tell the children, we had a little school here, that who our people are who thought, and can I tell them that India made thoughts. That was 1991. And then what I am doing today, the project started then, that how simply I can say in a few numbers, a few personalities, what India's thoughts has been. So I'm so grateful that you all are here, and I will present myself. 10 thought leaders from India. So this is something I had captured, and then which Bimal Bhai read is the. So this is the presentation that has about India abroad in, this is late 19th century. But what happens is that India is complex. India is a chaos. India has problems. India probably has knowledge, but nothing is linear. So we have to go and sort out. So basically, things like this have become the justification why other peoples rule India, because it has gone to such a state that it is uncontrollable. It's too diversified. When we operate abroad, we have to somehow see and check whether it is all diversified. Is it all hodgepodge? Or does it have any rhythm? So that rhythm I will try to examine and present to you with my abilities. The first person I choose is this gentleman called Yajnavalkya. Now, Yajnavalkya is just a name, and we have found him in the Vedas, but probably he's a symbol, except that many writings take his name, and particularly, which I will try to talk about, is a Upanishad called Vardhamāna Upanishad, where he teaches, and possibly for the first time in the world, establishes that it is the mind that maintains the universe. If anything was created by anyone in the beginning, that is the mind. So he says that I think the mind as a part of our operational life probably goes back older. Literature of that is only folklores. We don't have written literature yet, or nothing has come out to us yet. It may be there in our hills and the other languages, indigenous people. We have not explored them. The first thing that we have come to know is this sentence from Yajnavalkya, which I put 1700 BCE, but could be anywhere, 17 to 700. But so those things are not important, the time. But what's important is that they create a cosmology of life. The cosmology of life is there is a mind, and there is a speech, and there is a prana. So life. So he says these three things constitute the universe: the mind, the speech, and life. The mind comes first, speech comes next, and the life comes. And why, you can imagine, because life needs those. So we'll see how he develops it. So discovery of mind as a separate entity is probably old. The human being is defined by his or her mind. That you can see in the folklores and so on. But again, we have to kind of examine them in the context that everything in the universe, men, women, children, trees, planets, clouds, stars, they have a mind. They do not have a body, they have a mind. So this large mind is India's contribution to the world. Know your mind. And I want to explore it, that as we develop, we'll see how this mind idea explodes. So this Yajnavalkya starts that, see, he says, Trayolokayate vabhag eva yang lokaha, mano antarikya lokaha, prana asau lokaha. So there are three lokas, three layers of the universe. One is presently here, we are on the earth, and then the atmosphere is the mana, and then the akasha, the space, is the prana. And you can imagine why the earth, why the atmosphere comes before earth, because you need the air to survive. So that part I won't get into it, but you can see when you read the literature, see how analytic they have been, that how these things. So that's why before I said the thought is an analytic idea, that you have to see, yes, what I'm going to do, what's next, what next, what next. It's not an engineering project, it's a scientific project. You don't have an end in it, you just proceed on it. So then he says, metaphysics universe is trayang by them nama rupa karma. Nama rupa karma. All objects have the name, they have a shape, and they have the function. And in order to have those things, so the speech as a function needs fire. Fire is the speech. The shape of the speech is like fire. Because the speech will label an object, the object to be perceived, and that you need light. Then he proceeds that the mana is the atmosphere, has the sun as the, so tabat aditya, tavanasho aditya is sun. So sun would be the giving the light to objects in the atmosphere. And then here, so regarding the sky, there is no light there. Why there's no light? Because the prana, the life has no light. Why? The life is unknown. So you can't see it. So that becomes more powerful in the sense that the life force has no rupa. Rupa, I said here, rupa. So it doesn't have a shape or feature and so on, you can't catch it. So let us continue. So then he says he has a wife, Gargi. So Gargi to ask some questions and so on. And then in order to create this universe cosmology that he thinks about, he suggests that these things themselves will not operate. You need something else to operate this. So that something else, he says, that there's a witness to all this. That witness is, you call consciousness, you call God, you call Brahman. So, which is, you don't hear, you don't see, but that is immutable. And that thing pervades the space. So that becomes the Indian spirituality, that everything in space is alive because it is conscious. And that's due to this gentleman, Yajnavalkya, probably before. But I want to see the science of it. That is, the tree doesn't simply exist, but tree exists with its body, with its life, with its fruit, but with its consciousness. Prana is truth, truth is unknown. So then he says Adesha. Adesha. Adesha means this is what you have to accept. Accept in the sense that if you think what truth is, you don't know. Neti neti. He etadasmatiti, neti asmat paramasti. So it is not, you can't say, which that I say I know it. So anyone says he knows it. So we'll come to Kabir, how he diffuses the idea or contradicts the idea. So Brahman assumes all forms, rupam rupam pratirupa bahuva. So that consciousness goes into all objects and becomes. Then in my this survey, I bring a friend, Srikrishna. Srikrishna probably is a historical character. I think he was, but lately it has been taken as a spiritual character and God and something. But I claim 1500 BCE because somehow it goes with some of the other dates, but we don't fully know. But I must say that he was a secular teacher. I use the word secular here for a purpose. Secular, in the sense he did not really care that you belong here, belong there. But he cared that you are a human being. So if you're a human being, what shall you do? You're a society man. Society man will live in society. He's not enunciate and so on. And then some people, a friend of mine in Harvard, he's kind of examining, and he kind of comes to see that he is a charioteer and possibly a farmer. So now what did he say? This mana that we said is existing, Krishna brings some operational logic to it. Mana itself might exist, but mana doesn't work unless you apply it. So mana, so that in the mana also from the universe manifests in individual. When being individually manifest, then it becomes as confusing as the universal mana is, as dense, as unknown. So now question is, how do I handle my mana? So excellence in work is achieved by immersive concentration. And he calls practice of detachment. That I'll come to, why it is called practice of detachment. And that's the important contribution of this gentleman, Sri Krishna, in the sense that if you do number of things at a time, you are not doing anything at a time. You must relinquish yourself from all actions and be one-minded in one action. If you are speaking, if you are eating, you are seeing, you are hearing. So that's the concentration. Your work. So this our operation that we work and then think about things somewhere else, or what shall we do in the evening, afternoon, and so on. That's not yoga. So yoga is, so the question is, he tried to teach techniques where you can really be productive. He's a farmer in the sense that you have to put your mind onto the work. He continues, so then he defines the so-called Brahman that Yajnavalkya has defined. So he continues to make a little more elaborate on it. Now, Krishna himself did not write this because I don't think he was much literate, but he was a philosopher. He preached, but his material was like many other material written later by other poets. But whatever he says that this particular consciousness, which is operating in you, is kind of a sarvagata, sthanu, achala. So it is sthanu. It is sthanu. Sthanu means neutral. It doesn't really work. And sarvagata. So it doesn't work. The consciousness is not active. What is active? You are active. So he defines the two different things that which Yajnavalkya had said, but he makes it more operational. It's the mind which is sitting over the consciousness, and mind is doing the work. But then he makes a own cult of his, which says that actually you think you're working, but you are not working. The work is defined for you. That becomes the Krishna philosophy. That is the work. I'm doing this. So it is not I am doing this. There is no I. It is work prescribed by the universe. And I happen to be the person doing it. You happen to be the person in this group. It is preordained. And there's a larger process going on. Who determines who will be going where and what for and what purpose. And so we are simply following that. So that order, see everything now, and because of that order, he makes this as a slogan, this Brahmarpanam Brahmahavihi Brahmagnu Brahmanautam Brahmaivatena Gantabyam Brahma Karma Samadhina. Everything is Brahma. What I'm saying is Brahma. What I'm doing is Brahma. Who receives is Brahma. And then it has to be also done because of Brahma. Brahma wants me to do it. So all work is Brahma Karma Sanadhina. You must always think that whether the work that I'm doing, does it have any purpose? That's the Brahma Karma. What Brahma will like, what my consciousness will like. So that determination, an internal dialogue with you, an objective dialogue, that am I doing this proper? That becomes yoga. Then he says this particular principle, however, may not be always applicable, so it might go astray. And then he makes himself into more important. Yada yada hi dharmasya glani bhavati bharata adhyuthana dharmasya tadatmanam sujamyam. So he says, look, things might not, people may do arbitrary things and so on. They may not do Brahma's things. And so when it becomes totally erratic, then somebody comes and takes care of it. I think he, in some sense, glorifies himself. Then he makes the operational part of it. The human aptitudes in 4 classes: scholarship, military, business, and labor. That's not his idea, but he determines it that, look, people have aptitudes and that have respected. They do, because his idea is that people do their best when they use their skills to the fullest. So whatever your skills are, carpenter, you're a cobbler, you are a wordsmith, you are a teacher, you are a singer, you are a dancer. So you do that. and that is where you excel. So he says in one somewhere, the excellence work. Then he says the religious. So then he makes a code of conduct, that is the people who are sarvabhut hiterataha. So this becomes the definition of Brahma karma, as we said before. What is Brahma karma? That is through your work, somebody is benefited. Is a local definition, sarvabhuta hite. So sarva is a large word. All objects are benefited. But if you must see that it doesn't have you in it, it has larger purpose. One must let all work be an offering. So that's again what happens is that look, Brahmarpanam. So Brahmarpanam means like I do it, but I can't handle it. I do not know right or wrong. So you take it. You take it. Mai sarvani karman. So he says that look, and hence when people do stuff and so on, there's a Krishnarpanam. That is, so he says, if you use my name, probably it's okay. But the whole idea is that you do your stuff in the right way, and that way is an internal dialogue with you, which is that you are being objective. The elements of yoga must be practiced now to reach fulfillment life. So this kind of a thing. So he has a little we made a little chorus out of it. Nirmana moha sanga dosha adhyatma nitya kama bande vimukta sukadukka sangi gacchanya mudha padamabhyam tat. So you have to kind of a non-delusional folks who are free from pride and delusion, who are free from mistakes, and who have released themselves from the duality of happiness and sorrow, is the immutable state. All right. Close this. Now we come to, now this was Krishna. Now somehow this group called Jainas, they operated probably much longer before Yajnavalkya even. But they were not as visible. They were local people, they operated their own. And this Mahavir, whom we call at 600 BCE, he tried to formalize those thought processes. Powerful thought processes. What they did was that we said the Rupa, the Mana Bachka Prana. So Nama Rupa Karma. So karma is action. So Krishna says you do excellent work. But these people come to say that when you excellent work doesn't mean that you do arbitrary work. Excellence is not that you clear the jungles and make forests, make buildings. So the question is also, do you know what kind of harm you are doing? So which I believe is an old Indian thought that environment must be protected, nature must be protected, the planet must be protected, and all work has to be regulated. So he's the first time these people will kind of say, Kaya sabaya samatte vitte gidhe ithisu viyo malasachinai sishunasumitye. You are creating, careless about physical activity, speech, covetous wealth, and woman accumulates karmic dirt. He calls it karmic dirt. I don't know whether they're threatening people or they're scientific in this. What they're saying is that by your deviation of work, by destroying other objects, you are causing harm to yourself. And that harm will eventually will destroy you. So he says that the aversion, just earth from accumulates mud both ways, internally and externally. So externally you get mud and internally you get mud. So what they will do is they will throw away the Brahman thing, because universe, see, Brahman thing tells us that you have a consciousness and you can have a dialogue with it. You can examine what's right or wrong, and that's called the dharma. That's called your righteousness. What they say, that is nothing to dialogue with. Universe doesn't have an object to dialogue with. You are it. You are it. So if you are it, then you have to protect yourself. What you are doing is you are spoiling your life, yourself, by doing work without really thinking critically about what you do. Now, critically means that when you do work, somebody else suffers. That becomes a very difficult designation that I'm actually seeing. I'm like working here. Of course, my family supporting me, my wife feeding me. Whether that becomes a part of the karma, whether my karma has really inhibited them to do their karma. So what's the right karma? What Krishna said, that we have our own karmas. So he did not say that I'm encroaching you and you're encroaching me. He did not say that this kind of speaking is a better thing than this like hearing. It's okay. Each has his own karma. But what these Jainas try to claim, that karmas can have their own difficulties. That's because you suffer through your karma. It's powerful. It's powerful. But as we can see later on, it becomes unoperational because you can't fully define it. I'll come more about it. So they kind of said that, look, in order to get rid of so you must get rid of your karma in your life, if you can, or you will be reborn. Because they accepted that the soul, that's a pure soul, and pure soul is transparent crystal light illumination. And pure soul, however, can be stained by these karmas. So, hatabhya, kashaya tribhiyana mukhasta. So, you have to kind of, these three modes of activity, mind, speech, and body, which we've seen before. So they have to be controlled, and you have to kind of remove all passions. All passions. This is a very important thing they brought into Indian studies or Indian culture. That is, you have those passions in your different organs, and they cause you harm. So he said that you have to also do tribhiyana mukhasta, so threefold manner. You're doing it, causing to be done, and approving the action. So Jain becomes extremely analytical in those particular sense. But foundationally, whether it does become difficult to operate. There are many Jains operating today in the world, but nobody is a pure Jain, because you can't be a pure Jain. In order to be a pure Jain, you have to die. So because everything you do has error in it. But so they will say the body perishes, the soul takes rebirth, which becomes our. I take this from this book called Samanasuttam, which is published by the Sarvasva Sangha in India, and Vinoba Bhave, Indian monk. So this is where I like about Jainism. So this Mahavir, most likely was a mathematician. He said that the number of souls in the universe has to be finite. Because if you remove this Brahman, so nobody creates anything. He doesn't say how the universe was first created, but whatever it was, whenever it was created, the number of souls are constant, the number of life elements in the universe. So what happens is, so they go on transforming one to the other. But important thing is, operational principle is, the doctrine of non-violence. Tumangsi nama chacheva jang hantabbe mannasi tumsi nama chacheva jang ajabayavam namanyashi. That is, whom you are trying to destroy, think that it is you, because all souls are equal. Every object has a soul. Every living object has a soul. And then, so that soul is no different than your soul. So don't even touch it. Then, of course, they will say there's a doctrine of forgiveness. So this becomes their operational principle, but it doesn't really rescue you from your harm, from the problem you have created to yourself by destroying. You can ask forgiveness, but that doesn't do anything. But you must for your own peace of mind. So this forgiveness as a quantity comes from Jainism to Indian religions or Indian culture, which is that you must know how to, Krishna doesn't talk about it, how to forgive. It is not that you do penance, you do yourself and so on. First thing you do, I forgive. Next I go to this gentleman, Gautama Buddha, 500 BC, I claim, and people claim different dates, so on. So he left home, he was a prince, became popular teacher. He brings a new idea. It's mana idea, mana continues, but he brings the word desire. Desire. We have seen before in the Jainism, the passion. Passion is not desire. Passion is you're diverse on the mind. Desire is greed. Desire is kama. Desire that you are seeking something. It's not destruction. It is want. I need. It is not gain. So then he says this purity of mind you must have in order to really be at peace. And then because he's a prince and it's because he was young, he will chastise the people, those people at local times and so on, that look, don't show your faces, don't really do rituals, don't do these things and that thing and so on, thinking that you will go away, but you must stop your desire. His thinking was that anything that people do has a desire in it, which could be true. When I'm giving this lecture here, for the desire in it. And what's the desire? Is my desire to help some people to understand? Is my desire to let people think that, oh, I did tell it, get some fame? Do I have what desire you have? So his point is, any work must not have a desire. It becomes very powerful. So he says, looking for a shelter doesn't release from the sins. So that is where he contests this so-called forgiveness business. That is, don't even do it. Don't do it. Nothing. So my point is I don't justify that I did the following because of this. Natekhe saranam khemam chitam saranam uttamam netam saranam agamya sabba dukkha pamuchyati. Right. So there is no shelter. This is kind of strongly against the rituals that people were doing those days, assuming that things will they'll be taken care of. Pains don't go away. Only a clean mind provides relief. Clean mind. But then he doesn't say how do you make the mind clean, but he goes on defining the clean mind is that doesn't have a desire. Then clean mind is attained by understanding. Then he says, because naturally when you have this, okay, what I do, how do I stop my desire? So which is kind of a Krishna has said before, that if thoughts come to you, remove the thoughts, put good thoughts. So what he did, that if thoughts come to you, put these noble truths. Noble truths are, so you take shelter in Buddha, observe the righteous conduct without defining what this conduct is, and live in a community. Then righteous conduct he would say that I'll come to next stage here. That is the right thought, right understanding, right thought, right speech, right action, right summary, right effort, right mindfulness, and right concentration. Right here means what's appropriate. Appropriate in the sense it is not that you are extreme, not that you totally resist, but you say it's a mutual. I and you are the audience. So what's the right? I respect you, you respect me. I speak in a manner you can understand, and you may ask questions. So some kind of a thing he tried to elaborate that there's always a right way to do stuff. Any samyak, samyak, that is not extreme. You can't be totally pure. You're not totally impure, but you're just right. Just right. Buddhism became very popular because of this, because people could not follow that, look, I become ascetic or I become a negation, but here I can operate. So grief enters the body through our body, jigicha. So then he also discovered other thing, the hunger is the greatest disease. That is, one should have some operation so that you don't go hungry. Livelihood, livelihood. It is against this. And the life is momentary, moment goes, doesn't return. And this is Buddha's discovery, Buddha's contribution to India. That is, time is not eternal. Every moment goes away. So hence you must justify the moment you are in. So not the other thoughts that, okay, I'm doing good things and so on, good things take time, but I good things now. Present moment is important. All right, since I'm kind of going time, I have to move on. I come next to Panini. Panini. Panini is my ideal. Panini, now he's not in the category of people I have mentioned before, but is category by himself. These people existed in India all the time, who are like compilers, who take stuff, the Ayurveda, the health, the people, you go to villages and so on and see these people who have the resources, small resources, they collect, which could be useful in time. He is a man of that kind. He collected, he heard, examined, collected, and then his important discovery is that human beings have these syllables in their speech, which was probably known before, but he quantified it. 63 or 64, this is says, the 63, he kind of found 63 in his operation, and then the 64th, which I'll come to, which he thought is not independent. 63 in the sense independent. I call that he's an anatomist. Anatomist because most likely he knew how the body functions, because he knew how we breathe, he knew how the different organs operate, he knew what the objects, how the sound will be produced. So he can categorize, saying that this sound is not this sound. So unlike the modern linguistics that we talk in slurs or superpose and so on, Panini is the purist. He defines that human being has this internal capacity to express. The syllables are the human signatures. So they are your expressive capacity for the universe. And he does refer to 10 previous grammarians. So he says, so there are two kinds of letters. There's Hal letters and Ach letters. Hal letters, however, I've learned Jagam, Jagadadas, Kapachata. I have a friend, Bala, who does it very well. Kapachata, Tachata. So like that. So they would say, these are the consonant letters, and that the Ach is the Ayun, Aluk, Evuch. So these are the vowel letters. Then there's this book called Panini Sikhya, which people say may not have been written by Panini, but talks about Panini's contribution. So he kind of elaborates that how these letters are operating in the mind, in the body. So there are 21 vowels, 43 consonants, actually 42. So the Kya as a consonant is not a Panini consonant. He thinks it's a compound. 25 stop consonants, 8 Ya consonants, 4 Yama consonants. This Kang, Kang, Gang, Kang, he thinks they're different sounds. They're not part of Ka and Anushwara. So I'm kind of using the technical words here, Anushwara, Visarga, and so on. But the point is whether human beings have independent phonetic sounds biologically produced. That is Panini's contribution to the world. That is, you can, through your body operation, through your breathing, through your throat, through your voice mechanism, through oral organs, you can produce only certain sounds. And those sounds are your ability to express. All the world is expressed through them. Then, so he says that how these different objects are produced. So Shodim Namurdhani Avito Bhaktam Papa Damarutaha Badnanjanate Samvihaga Panchadasrutaha. So the air comes and air hits the head, and then it comes out and so on. There are 5 kinds of them, the consonants. Uttata. So then we have these swara, the vowels. So they come in 3 different kinds, Uddata, Anudatta, Shurita. And also there are 3 different times. Then he also says 3 different times because the vowels have the ability to express yourself in space and time. So you have the. Then I must make this statement here that he's a mathematician also. In the mathematician, so he becomes brief, he becomes elegant, he becomes as precise and concise as possible. So here is an example of it. Suptingantang padam. So this particular thing says all the declensions or endings and the verbs and so on that exist in all languages. You know what I mean? So this to get the sup. So here the whole area of sup, sujo. So like that from here the pa. So that is a set. So this set will define how the nouns will be have declension. Then this thing is here, this kind of a thing, but this kind of, they have like 10 tenses, 3 different numbers, and 3 different what do you call pronouns. So those things become complex, but he could map it in this small set. From Panini, we go to Chanakya, a man, a genius. He's an economist. He comes to put together a social fabric in India. How he designed himself, I think the social fabric in India is old, but to put it structurally, so economically sound, politically sound, socially sound, is due to this man. They call him a Brahmin for some reason, because somehow he started as a priest, but then he got himself trained with Takshashila's university. But the analytic tools of traditional system is Sankhya, Yoga, Lokayata. So there are 3 systems of philosophy which are people are operating on. He says all this, they are to be maintained. This is the contribution of Panini, of Chanakya, or this Kautalya. He called Kautalya. People write him as Kautilya, and that's not correct. Kautalya. What is it? That is, you have to operate people as they are. You don't impose systems on people. This is Kautalya. People live their own lifestyle. You question why they have lifestyle, then answer to it. They have defined themselves through time, developed lifestyle. The question is the state, administration, whosoever runs, whether they can really keep people in their lifestyle. Then people will be happy. So he creates Pradeepa Sarvidyana Upaya Sarvakarmana, Ashraya Sarvadharmanam Shasud Anvikiki Mata. Anvikiki, analytic. So he continues to say, Shadharmaha Shurgaya Antyaya cha Tasya Atikrame Loka. So he believes that is his principle, which is Yajnavalkya and Srikrishna's principle, that there is something called truth. And that is dutiful conduct is happiness at evaluation. Your dutiful conduct. Dutiful conduct is again which is traditional to you, which you have learned, which you know well. Then he says everyone's opinion should be heard. Nakaschitavamanyata. Sharbasya smriyatmat. Balasya pyarthavat. Even a boy has to be heard. So this particular democracy consensus that people are the crux of any administration is due to Kautalya, and he established this. Fairness, objectivity must be duty of administration. Evam karan dharmastaha kuryo. Acha darsana. So don't be crooked. Be truthful. Shamaha sarvesu bhaveshu. Vishwasya loka sampriya. Samaha sarvesu bhaveshu. You will be even in all situations. So this is a statecraft. I don't think it has been excelled. Even no comparable book exists in any other literature. Chinese try to do few things about it, but they do not have this large respect of people. The king does not do dictation. It is people who live. The king has to follow people. That's Kautalya, and this Kautalya's operation made India prosperous, opulent, for about 1500 years or more, until it was kind of brought down by the Islamic people who said they will impose a new administration, and British kind of destroyed it more. Satyena dharate prithvi, satyena tapate rabhi, satyena bhati vayuscha, sarvam satya pratishthitam. So that there is universal rule for everything in the universe. This logic, the universal rule is this aptitude that Krishna said. So this is people have different ways of operation. People have free will. People have excellence and they must express. So those are satya. We didn't design them. Truth lies in the heart. Now deva vidyate kasthena pashanamrame bhavi vidyate deva. This bhava word has come in. This is a new thing here. Bhava. Bhava. Whether you are saying things or you have bhava in it. So this becomes the new dictum in Indian thought. That is, it is not the mind, it is not mind's action, it is not what mind's passion, it is what you have thinking at that time. Bhava. All offerings should be created by individual to gain merit. This is also Kautalya, that you must do yourself. Just like each of these lines and so on, I try to follow Kautalya, that I did myself. I did translations and so on, also myself, and so on. So that he says that you don't borrow, you don't owe things. You must apply yourself. Then he says to dilute it, perfection is not achievable. So you do, it doesn't mean that is all excellent and good and so on, but you tried. So don't think that you are perfecting. So with that, Kautalya became the most successful economist that we know of in ancient world, also in the modern world ever. Then I come to my friend Valmiki, Ramayana, big man. He becomes the first poet of India, claims himself the first poet in the sense that the other people, the poets before, were epic poetry. To take a topic and write a full story about it, 24,000 stanzas. We don't know where he lived. We don't know who his parents were, family. He must have family because he talks about family. He talks about life. He talks of father, son, wife, brothers, children. So then I quote this from the little stuti we do every time we read Ramayana. Valmiki Munasingha Kavitavana Charana Shunnan Rama Kathanadan Konajati Paramgatin. The Rama Katha, the Rama has been the buzzword for India ever since Valmiki brought it popular. So it has a rhythm to it, but somehow also claim is that through Valmiki you can also get liberation. Everyone who dies, they say Jai Ram. So Ramayana possibly existed folk legend for many centuries. He retells in verse form, and then this is the first line that he says that he creates this new line of poetry called sloka poetry. Mani shada pradishtantama shaswati samaha yat kroncha mitram ekam avadhi kama mohitam. So he just saw some cranes and so on. They were in conjugal union, and some hunter comes and kills one of them, and then he gets upset, and he says that this line came to him, and that became shoka line. Shoka is grief, and because he comes shoka line, he calls it a sloka. It becomes a sloka. The musical meter is 8 syllables per quarter, called anustuv. So this is the meter. And then he says he has become so beautiful. Pathe ge madhuram pramane tibi atanvitam jati vi saptabhi yukta tantri laya samuttam. So it has kind of a haptabhi yukta. The 7 strings of it, you can really play with the bina, and you have also madhura pramane tribhi. So you can also, scale is there. Your timings, 3 measures of time. Then he says, not only that, I've also put all rasa in it, aesthetics. So, Shrangara Karuna Hasya Rodra Bhayanaka Bira. So then also, all emotions are there, 8 emotions and so on. And you can read Valmiki and so that how he can enjoy doing the emotions and so on. And then, so then Ramayana story, I say, Janma Ramasya Sumhat Bijam Sama Sarvanu Kulatam Lokashipyatam Khanting Samyatam Satyasilatam. So that's Rama. So he creates the character called Rama with Sarvanu Kulatam, which has everything going for him. He is a kind of handsome, he's a prince, he is good natured, he is a Sumahat, then Lokas, and then Khanti. He has Samyata, Satyasi. So like that, he has all the good qualities that a man can say, man can have. But then the question is why he's in trouble. He becomes in trouble. So his trouble is the story of Ramayana, and then coming out rescue from the trouble. So married to Sita. Sita is also another strong character, and Sita gets kidnapped for some folly reason, but that's the story. Then she discovers he's located by a character called Hanuman, and Hanuman says, okay, now since we have met, I will take you out. So then Sita says, Yadi Rama dasagrivam iha hatva saraksham mamita gruhya gachet tat satrusam bhavet. A wife always wants, my husband will do it, so let him come. She also wants that the dasagrivam who has kidnapped me, that has to be also killed, because that's the omen's revenge. So this is where Valmiki defined the Indian omen or general femininity overall, that you can't do a wrong to a woman. There's a curse from it. And that curse is built in. And let Rama come. Now what happens? Rama can't come. You know what I mean? So this is where the omen, Valmiki's omen, that if I am correct, my husband will take care of me. That becomes the Indian creed. I will not go much into it, but Ramayana, Yashami, and then comes Lakshmana and Banakim Sugriva, Valmiki, and this thing. So then he creates a character called Hanuman, which becomes an important person. He's a Banara. Banara is some kind of intermediate between monkey and man, and so half man or something. But somehow he creates the Hanuman as an animal because he's so loyal. He's a man, he's so wise. So that's the cunningness of Valmiki, Hanuman. And then Rama says that he's the one who can really help me out. His brother is there, but he finds Hanuman as the person who will be really Ashami Balamadhyam Balogam Avyarsayan Adhiru Hanumantam. So he says, when I go to war and so on, I go over on the back of the Hanuman. So Hanuman has been deified in religious literatures. Tulsidas, our favorite poet, so he makes the one Hanuman as a deity. So various episodes, Ramayana and so on, have been used in music and theater elsewhere. Then we go to another gentleman called Vyasa. There could be many Vyasas, but this Vyasa who we think did the Mahabharata and most likely also did many other so-called Puranas, lived around 100 BCE, possibly. But then he's a compiler, probably wrote some lines himself, but he brings this thing called Narayana. I think he brings, because that is where everything has to be auspicious in order to really get things done. So we should seek blessings from Narayana. What is Narayana? Narayana is the man who was elevated to be a god, human god, human god. So that is, you worship the god as a human being. This is the precursor to Christianity. So something called a man may be possible to have the divinity. So you Narottamam, Namaskritta Naram, Narottamam, Narayana. So you Narayana in the sense who has been elevated to a godhood. Nara is man himself, people, and Narottamam, the skilled people. And then traditionally we do Saraswati because you should have the skills, the arts, the voice, the music, the language. So he called Mahabharata is called Itihasa. Now Mahabharata tries to sum up everything I said before, from Yajnavalkya, Srikrsna, Mahavira, Buddha, and so on. All things you see in Mahabharata. He analyzes every little detail about it. Historical narrative. Stories are woven inside the stories, most likely, so those stories existed, but as a part of teaching tool and so on, has been compiled together. Stories about a blind king Dhritarashtra, who deluded his son. He has 100 sons and so on, so the story. But his eldest son is wayward, and he likes him. So he himself says, Buddhang mam abhishyanti putra manyuprayanaha. Aham tu achakyuhu karpanyat putra pitya sahamitat. So obviously, so my own sons think too much of themselves. They don't respect me. But I'm achakyu, I'm blind. So karpanyat, so through my own misery, putra pitya, and because of my love to my children, so I bear them. So this is the story of a human being. And this is where Mahabharata reaches people. People identify, I am somewhere there in Mahabharata. Most situation narrative will comprise of empiricism. Then what he does is that he will also create characters who will say, well, you don't have to lament, you have to continue. And so this becomes an empirical rule and so on, which India operates. Kala pachati bhutani, kala sangarati prajaha, nidhahanta prajakalam, kala samayate punam. So it is a time which will heal. It's okay, misery has come, misery will go away, and so on. So that's operational. It's not Chanakya. Operational in sense, in spite of all this, I have misery. What shall I do? I do a puja. I do something. So time heals. So some kind of operation principle that Mahabharata brings in. Time did not heal eventually, time killed. So this Kala Sangharati Prajaha, this becomes the thing that we take from Buddhism, that look, live the every moment. So don't think that new moment is better than the present moment. Then the poem, something is the last stanza of the book. Tapona kalko dhananda kalka shobhavika veda vidhina kalka prashay vittarana kalka shanti stani eva bhava apahari kalka. So bhava, see bhava here? Bhava we have said before. Bhava apahatani. When your thoughts are kind of disturbed, so that's the kalka. That's the bad thing. Not only your actions are bad, your mind is bad, or mind's bhava is bad. So keep your bhava clean. So he has kind of a Mahabharata story, a character story. Each character is good in his own ways. Display flaws. Example, interesting characters. I just took 4 here. Bhishma, Karna, Shakuni, Draupadi. Bhishma is interesting the following way, that he's given the blessing that he will be most wise person, Dharmatma, Sarvashastra Visharadaha, and he will be kind of be helpful to the family and to all. And then, however, he will never get married. He will never have a family of his own. So this is Bhishma. Then there's Karna. Karna is kind of born out of wedlock. And then he's born, his mother sees that he has a shield on his body, built him, nobody will kill him, and so on. And so this is the kind of a mythology that Vyasa puts in. But so these are the ways in which we see the world, that some boys, some children are become auspicious, some people have different character. So then we have Sakuni. He's a crooked person. So what he does is, Vyasa creates this Sakuni, even historical character, that so he tries to create a dice game among people, and in order to really dominate the other side. So he knew how to cheat the game. So he cheats it all, wins it all, and when really to give them insult, he tries to make them slaves. So he tells this man that, okay, you have lost everything. Whom else whom else you can give? So he says, okay, take me. So then this fellow, Shakuni, says, what do you mean you give me? Your wife is there. Give him first. So he says, Asti Vaite Priya Devi Glaha Eko Parajitaha. Your wife is there, Aparajitaha. Panasya Krishna Panchalita Atmanan Puja. Before you do yourself, you give your wife Krishna Panchali. So this thing becomes really difficult for Panchali to accept. And that is the Indian woman again, and which I'm saying the reinforcing from Sita to this lady called Draupadi. So who says, Ayang himang dudang kudra koravan vishoraha, Krishnani naham tasodam chiram sakyami koraha. I can't handle this. I can't handle this. So this is the Indian woman, which is like they have tremendous tolerance. They accept. And that could be also Indian nation, Bharatamata. That is, somewhere it becomes intolerable. They accept torture, they accept poverty, they accept insult, they accept everything. But then it becomes sometime out of control. And that's the example of Mahabharata, that's the example of Ramayana. And I want to say that the celebration of women in this literature. Then I come to Shankara. We go 1,000 years, 800 CE, but he is kind of more recent, prolific scholar, poet, interpreter, principles of Advaita. In his modern aesthetic tradition, we established monasteries and schools, modern schools. The way I think he saw that things are deteriorating and how he can revive. So Vedanta, so he kind of the Krishna's principle, that the Brahman and the Yajnavalkya's principle, he renunciated with this thinking, saying that yes, you are talking about this mana, bak, prana, and so on, and Brahman. He says everything is Brahman. So mana is Brahman, prana is Brahman, bak is Brahman, Brahman is Brahman. So everything is Brahman. You understand that, and through that he develops a classless, or declares a classless society. That is, nobody is different. Vedanta declared the true knowledge and understanding that life is no different than immutable Brahman. Brahman is only real. Jiva Brahme Vanaparaha. Anila Vedayam Sastramiti Vedanta Dinjima. So, but he continues to say one must understand the self. So, self is this so-called Atma. Atma is the Brahman, also no different. But in order to understand the Atma, so it is not the Badantu Sastrani Yantu Devan Kurbantu Karmani Yantu Devataha Asmika Bodhana Binapi Mukti Nasiddhati. So you must understand yourself. The question is, how do you understand yourself? Only personal efforts. So this has been said by Chanakya before. He reinforces this. Vastu Surupam Sutavachukesa Swaneva Vidyam Natu Panditena. Nobody else will teach you. So this kind of like, I'm telling you all this. If you want to learn more, you have to read yourself, because you have to depend on your own intelligence, your own discrimination, your own analysis. Chandu Surupam Nichakyu Sevya Yantabdam Anmihi Abagamyatakin. So you have to see the moon by yourself. Nobody can explain the moon to you. Then he reinforces the previous thoughts. Mind is a source of ignorance. Nahi asti avidya manasvatirikta. Manohi avidya bhavanda hetu. It is the mind which is the cause of your bhavandha. Bhavandha is your afflictions in the society. Tasmin binaste sakala binastam. Vijruvite yasmin sakalam vijruvate. So when you destroy your mind, destroy all the dvesha, all the ill feelings in the mind, then you are cleared of any future pain. But once it comes up, then the pain starts. And then this is the object knower and knowledge. I gave a lecture on this 97 in the MIT AI lab. So that is the intelligence is a combination of what you need to know, who knows it, and the process of knowing. So knowledge, object, knower, object, knowledge. So these things have to combine, which basically that is the organic intelligence. So that he claims that asymptotically you have to converge in order that the illumination occurs. So my claim in 97 was you can't be fully organically intelligent through a machine, and it probably still holds, but that is due to Shankara. Vishuddhamantakaranam sarupe niveshya sakhini avadamatre shanni salai jaltam panayana punnam shvameva avilokayattat. So you have to see yourself. Unless you have the ability to see yourself, you are not intelligent. Then he also developed this new technique of kind of the disciple and the teacher. So all life is one, Shishyovacha. So kya avidya? What is the avidya? What is the ignorance? And then in what topics the avidya? Kya ba vidya vakacha svabhavam pratipadyate. So what is my nature? How do I understand it? So Guru Vacha. So this is kind of becomes a textbook in many of the American universities about Sankara. Guru Vacha. Tung Paramatmanam Shantang Asasranam Sansaryam Asmiti. Viparitam Pratipadyase Akartaram Shantang Karteti. Avaktaram Santa Bhakteti. Vidyamanam Vidyamanamiti Vidya. So you think you are doing, you are not doing. You think that you are Sansari, but you are not Sansari. You are not in this world. You think that you are eating avaktaram. So you think bhakti, not bhakta. You are not eating. So the question is avidyamana. You think you exist. You are not existing. So that is that you think these things happen. That is your ignorance, because it is all Brahman, and so it is beyond you, and you don't understand. So that becomes, so hence everyone is Brahman, everyone is equal. Knowledge is resides in the object, not in the observer. This is another powerful statement. The knowledge is existing, resides in the object. So it is not that you observe the object and then you know about it. You become the object. So ahankarta mama idam sati karma pravartate vastu adhinam bhavet avidya katru adhinam bhavet vidhi. So you have the procedure only, but not in knowledge. Intellect is reflection of consciousness. This is another powerful statement of him, extension of Krishna and Yajnavalkya. That is when you know something, that the reflection, Chaitanya Pratibimbena. Chaitanya is that old word, consciousness. Pratibimbena Bodha. Your discrimination comes through. So the question is, once you must have consciousness before in order to see something. So the infinite depository of knowledge of the universe must exist to have some perception. Buddhe sabdavibhasha tena ma muhyate jaka. So when you hear the sound of something, you speak and you think God speaks to me and this thing happens and so on, I am somebody. So that's not really right. And then finally, there is no caste or classification. Idang satyam avanasti bikriya vikara hetuna. So because there is no bikriya, because there is no other action, there is no vikara hetu, there is no cause for action, may advaya tattva. So I'm indifferent. I and you all are indifferent. Na punya papam, na chamukya bandhane. We have I do not have any pain, I do not have any punya or papa. And na mukya bandhane, na chasti bandhashrama, asarirataha. So I think I have a body, I don't have a body. Very powerful. I think Sankara lived young, not long, 40 years, less than 40 years, but somehow very powerful thinker. And we have not really extended it. And then India got occupied and so on, and things have not fully developed. Hopefully New India will change. And then finally, I come to Kabir, our local mystic, 15th century, which we know about him. Possibly he was a Muslim, converted to Hindu faith, accepting Vedantic teaching. Kabir composed orally. This is new thing. Yajnavalkya Prabhupada did orally. Krishna did not compose anything. It was written later. And Mahavir probably might have done orally, we're not sure. But we know that Kabir did orally. So he's known to have influenced the thoughts in modern Sikhism. Composition talk about traditional Indian folklores and remain immensely popular. So then I put many of his materials and so on. I put one shabad here. Jo pucho Govinda padhiya pandita, tera kon guru kon chela. Apne रूप को आप ही जाने, आप ही रहे अकेला. You know what I mean? So he says that, look, hey man, go and ask that fellow who talks about things, that who taught you? Just like you can ask me. You know what I mean? Who is your teacher? Who is your student? You know what I mean? What are you talking about? Apne रूप को आप ही जाने. You only know yourself. आप ही रहे अकेला. You are a solitary. So don't bloat. Don't really sew up. Say, then he has these things he's called the Ramani, and then I have chose Ramani and part of Little Doha and so on. The short philosophical story, short poem, and then have a Sakhi as a couplet at the end. So this I picked up in Banaras many years ago. So he is a follower to Krishna Sankara. Sankara did say about Maya, illusion, but this, our friend Kabir, elaborates on it. Illusive nature has to be recognized. China ka gabahu bore pani parina chinna adi sant utpati pralay apu hi ke lin. You just talked about things and so on, different symbols. Who created them? You didn't create them. It is Maya. It is somehow you think different. Chinna ka gabahu kul oivana khoi ke jiyat mua nahi hoy. Dekhat jo na dekhiya adishti kaha soy. So if you really don't discard your gar, your buns, the clan, your family, your stuff and so on. So people kind of say, I'm somebody, I'm this, I'm not that. So unless you extinguish that, then mua nahi hoy. Dekhat no dekhiya. So because adishti. So the adishti is adrusta. You are adrusta. Your soul is not seen by you. So you call yourself different names because you're not seeing yourself. मूष बिलाई एक संग कहू कैसे रही जाए अचरज एक देखू संत हस्ति सिंह आए. Moosh is mouse. Bilai is cat. So how can they two live together? So they go, see how strange it is that Hasti Singh hi khai, Hasti's elephant, is eating the lion. So lion is actually the soul, your inner self. And then, however, your nature, your external. So that is kind of covering up the सोई कहता सोई होगे निकाली न बाहर आए हाँ हजूर ठाड़ो कहो धोखे न जन्म कहाए mean what you want to become you could become but धोखे don't really mistakes हाँ हजूर I'm telling you ठाड़ो I'm standing here I'm telling you that your mind will killing you so you will become सोई कहता सोई होगे whatever you think keep the mind clean. Then he kind of chastises the Islamic people. आदम आदि सुधी नहीं पाई मामा होआ कहाँ न होए कहाँ ते होए तहिया होते तुर्क न हिंदू नमा के रुधिर पिता के बिंदु. Arey, what do you think? What is that Adam? And somehow this Eve had thrown it from Quran or something. He makes the Hoa, Mama Hoa. Where they come from? So they are not really. They are not real. They didn't create anything. So don't talk about Turk or Hindu, Turkey or Hindu. So there is no Ma ke Rudhir Pita ke Bindu. So there's not a mom and father in this. It's a creation. It's Maya. Things have happened. You know what I mean? And then finally we'll say, get mind and body together. Tan rahita mana jaat hai, man rahita na jaye. Tana mana ek hoye rahe, Hans Kabir kahai. So people kind of build their body, become nutritious and so on, and become healthy, but they have no mind. And then people have mind, they don't have body. So tanamana ek hoy, if you really put your mind and body together, Hansa Kabir hoy. Hansa is like an old word. Hansa is the wise man. So then I bring some dohas. I'm kind of getting late. Let me finish. So a few dohas are popular and they are kind of song and so on. Jahan daya taan dharma hai, jahan lobh wahan paap, jahan krodh taan kaal hai, jahan khyama wahan aap. So kindness, that is righteousness, greed breeds vice, anger is destruction, forgiveness divine. पानी केरा बुद बुदा हुई लौन असमानस की जात देखत ही छुप जाएगा है त्यों तारा प्रभात. So life is like a bubble of water, extinguishes itself momentarily, like starts up in the morning. बड़ा होया तो क्या भया जैसे पेड़ खजूर पंथी को छाया नहीं फल लागे अति दूर. अरे you look and so on, what good it is, like the khajur, the date tree. You know what I mean? It can't give seed, neither you can give fruit, so far away. काल करेशो आज करेशो अब पल में परेल होएगी बहुरी करेगा कब. Whatever you do tomorrow, do it now. Do it today. What you do today, do it now. And things will change in a moment. How can you do more? Then the reason I have a selection of this, I don't go into detail about how I selected them and why, but each of them, if I was teaching a class, I will say that you connect them to the things that we have done before. सुख में सुमिरन सब करे सुख में करे न कोय जो सुख में सुमिरन न करे तो दुख काहे को होय. Everybody kind of comes into in grief time they remember and they don't remember when there's happiness. So if you remember in happiness तो दुख काहे को होय. साईं इतना दीजिए जामे कुटुंब समाए मैं भी भूखा ना रहूं साधु न भूखा जाए. So oh God, give me so much I can maintain my family. I don't go hungry. Neither I feed somebody who visits me. कागा का कन धन हरे कोयल का को दे मीठे वचना सुना के जग अपना कर ले. So the crow doesn't take your wealth. Not the koel gives you, the cuckoo gives you any wealth. But meethi vachan, sweet sounds. So with the cuckoo, then you kind of मांगन मरण समान है मत मांगो कोई भीख मांगन से मरना भला ये सतगुरु की सीख. Don't ever beg. So mat mango koi, it's not beg for alms, beg for food. That we had said, Buddha had said before. So mangan se marna bhala, you should die. कबीरा जब हम पैदा हुए जग हंसे हम रोए ऐसी करनी कर चलो जो हंसे जग रोए. When we were born, we cried, they laughed. Let us do certain things so that they cry and we laugh. धीरे धीरे रे मना धीरे सब कुछ होए माली सिंचे सो घड़ा ऋतु आए फल होए. Keep patience. धीरे धीरे. Things happen slowly. धीरे सब कुछ होए. माली सिंचे सो घड़ा. When the gardener, he puts 100 buckets of water. Rutu aaya phal hoye. The fruit only comes in season. And then my final. Tanako jogi sab kare manako birala koe. This is mana. I want to emphasize that India discovered mana. And everything centers on that topic. And I want to leave that with you. Tanko sab jogi sab kare manako birala koe. Sab siddhi sahje paiye. Je mana yogi hoye. So this tan and mana, yogi put together, then you are. So I have a little summary here. I said the 10 thought leaders who did what? Yajnavalkya brought analysis, Srikrsna brought concentration, Mahavira brought non-violence, Buddha brought friendship, Panini brought language and grammar, Kautalya brought social administration, Valmiki brought character, Vyasa brought social conduct, Sankara brought equality, and Kabir personal instruction so that people can learn. So this is my analysis of doing through this 10 thought leaders from India. I thank you all, and also I thank people who have helped me over the years in order to do this, and they are listed here. I remember the late Swami Sarvagata and the Ramakrishna Mission, who in MIT really adopted us, and this won't happen without him. Satyananda Rao, he encouraged me to read Sanskrit. My father and mother, Manmohan Nirmala, long time ago, they thought that I could be useful, and I'm trying to be useful as much as I can. My teacher, Basudev Das, he taught me Kabir, and through that, I entered religion. And my teacher, Devendranath Kaur, he taught me yoga. He's also my uncle. So presently, also I have my thanks to Professor Bimal Jain, who I have been talking, and he educates me. Thomas Burke in Harvard, he's sick and he's now in the hospital. But long discussions I had with him on many topics. So whatever errors are mine, but he helped me with books and materials. Prem Nagar, my local friend, he has been with us for many years, and he's always available, and true friend and resource. Then my team, somehow a team has generated here, India Discovery Center, who have about 20 people or so, maybe 30, but each of them serious, positive, understanding, so they help. Then staff at Harvard University. So as you see that these things need books, materials, scanning, resources. So the Harvard has been helpful. Then I must also acknowledge my life support, my wife Savarna, because when you do these things, naturally sometimes you don't have time even to sleep, eat. So somebody takes care of it, my family. So my children, who kind of also cause trouble, but somehow they're supported by being healthy, by not being nuisance in life, as many people have. So with that, I thank you all, and we can take questions if you have. I take 11:10 now, but people mind, you can ask. Prem Nagar will conduct the Q&A,